FDA Scotland, and today I'm going to talk to you about food and drink manufacturing. So in the course of my presentation, I'm going to explain what food and drink manufacturing is. I'm going to tell you a wee bit about the organisation I work for, and I'm going to tell you a wee bit about what I do, and then we're going to talk about the wider job opportunities and careers that are available in the food and drink industry. So just moving on here. So when I talk about food manufacturing, I've got this slide here to illustrate where we sit in the whole food supply chain, because we are all consumers of food and drink. There's one thing that unites every single one of us in this call is that we all eat and drink every single day, and we all have an opinion about what we like to eat and drink as well. And some of us are very vocal about that as well. So the consumer, you can see, is right at the top there of the food chain, and they influence what is made in the rest of the food and drink supply chain as well, because if we don't like something as consumers, then we're not going to buy it. We also are influenced by things like Instagram and trends and health, and there's a whole business behind consumer influences as well that we don't have time to talk about in this presentation, but bear that in mind for some of the jobs that you can maybe go into as well, not as an influencer, but in analysing trends and looking at health benefits and things. So the next bit in the food supply chain is food production. So we call that primary production. So that is growing crops, raising animals that will then go into the food chain as well. And then the next bit in the food supply chain is food manufacture. And that's really the bit that I'm focusing on today. So I represent food manufacturers. So these are the people that take the raw ingredients, the plants, the animals, the fish, and make them into a value-added product that you would maybe go and buy in the supermarket. But they also manufacture products that go into the hospitality industry as well, and also into wholesale too. After food manufacture, there's a huge distribution and logistics industry to get your food to its destination safely, hygienically, on time, and in perfect condition as well. And then it goes into the wholesale, retail, and hospitality industry. So often when I'm talking about food and drink, if I'm maybe talking to teachers or career advisors, a lot of people think that I'm talking about chefs and waiters and working in the hospitality industry. It's really not about that. It's part of the bigger supply chain, but we are looking at the manufacturing side of the business when we're talking about food and drink in this presentation. So what does food and drink manufacturing look like in Scotland? Well, it's actually the biggest manufacturing sector in Scotland, and as a result, it's really, really important to the economy. Exports have increased hugely over the past few years. The industry actually all works together now, and we've got plans and targets for growth across the whole of the industry. So exports have increased. We put an awful lot of money into the Scottish economy. We also employ a lot of people as well. And we're going to need more people in the future to replace folk that are retiring because there's an ageing workforce. But there's also going to be new jobs emerging in the future as well. Some of them we probably don't even know what they are just now, but these could be the jobs that some of you will end up doing as well. So it's really, really important industry, very, very big. But a lot of people don't necessarily think of it as a career option because you maybe just don't think about it, or it's got a very bad image. We know that we have suffered from a bad image in the past. You know, folk have said, well, if you don't do well at school, you'll end up packing tatties or in that fish factory. That might have been true a few years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago. The industry has changed so much. It's clean, it's very, very automated, it's very, very hygienic, obviously, as well, and it's changed a lot, and it's actually a great place to work. But not everybody knows that, and you maybe don't even think about jobs in food and drink manufacturing because you don't really know what these are. So hopefully we'll bust a few myths today as well. So as I said, we're a membership organisation. We're also UK based, so we've got over 800 members across the whole of the UK. But I work in the Scottish division. So these are some of our Scottish companies that are members of us, and I'm sure you'll recognise a lot of the names here. Excuse me. You'll recognise them from you know, the supermarkets. You maybe buy them as snacks, and all of these people need to employ. All these companies need to employ people. They're always looking for new ideas. They're developing new products. They're improving the products they already have. They're maybe improving the systems that they use to produce the products as well. So lots and lots and lots of opportunities. And also there's some maybe businesses in there and products that you've maybe never heard of. But I bet you've eaten them. So on the left-hand side of the slide, there's a red square, and the company there is called McPhee. I bet you've never heard of them, but I bet you've all eaten some of their products. So they've got 2 sites in Scotland. They're owned by a family. They're a private business, but multi-million pound business with a base in Stonehaven, south of Aberdeen, and also in Uddingston, just outside of Glasgow. And they supply a lot of products into supermarkets. They make a lot of bread mixes. They also make a lot of cookie mixes as well, and muffin mixes. And they also make sauces and glazes that go into the catering trade as well. But the other thing that they do make is all the cookie dough for Ben and Jerry's cookie dough ice cream. So who knew? That's made in Scotland. So there's lots of interesting little nuggets of information in all the companies that we work with. I know you're probably familiar with the products, but a lot of them do an awful lot more than you would maybe think of when you just see the labels here as well. They do research and development. They're coming up with new product ideas. They maybe make products for other people as well. Again, McPhee also make high nutritious products for people with specific eating disorders, or maybe for older people as well that need to take on a lot more calories, but they can't eat an awful lot of food as well. So there's a lot of differentiation across the industry as well, in addition to what you see here. And just for information as well, I've been to the Tunnocks factory, and that's fabulous. It's a bit like Willy Wonka's. And the most interesting thing about Tunnocks is the caramel for the caramel wafers is made right at the top. It's over 3 or 4 stories, and the caramel is made in the top story, and it literally runs down in a river, in this aluminium river, down to where it's needed. So it is amazing. It's an amazing place. If you ever get a site visit, it's well worth it. So there are member companies, but I work across not just our member companies, but I work with food and drink companies across the whole of Scotland, and Scotland produces some of the finest food in the world. We really do. The pictures at the top there show some of our red meat, which is exported all over the world. You're probably familiar with Scotch whisky, obviously a global brand and a huge money maker for the industry as well. Offers massive amount of jobs worldwide as well. And our seafood is also exported all over the world. Scottish produce is really highly regarded and is in a huge demand internationally. So there's a massive demand for it. So opportunities there in terms of global travel and working abroad as well. What you might not also realise as well is that Scotland also has a number of world-class research institutions as well. So they're doing massive amounts of research into food products. So maybe things like tailoring diets to particular body types, to blood groups, developing foods that are going to help you eat more vegetables. There's also research into things like barley, how we can get more crops from our barley, how it can be used in different products as well. Oats is another area, huge research. You probably have all heard about the health benefits of oats, but not everybody likes porridge. So what can we do with oats that can make them more appealing to eat? Excuse me. And the final picture there is soft fruits. Well, there's a massive, we produce an awful lot of soft fruits, particularly in Dundee and Angus and Tayside regions. And there's a big research institute there as well, trying to do things like extend the growing season of particular berries so that we can get more homegrown berries that have got that are produced locally, so they're not being shipped in from abroad. They're also trying to combine the health benefits of particular berries. That's a blaeberry, and they're trying to combine that with a blueberry to get more antioxidants and to make a healthier product. So lots and lots of very interesting research to help Scotland improve what it actually offers, and also to reduce supply, to reduce food miles as well, and to make our products healthier. So that's just a wee bit of background about what we have to offer as well. And I'm just going to tell you a wee bit about what I actually do, what my job is all about. I'm really lucky. I love my job, and it's all about trying to promote careers in food and drink manufacturing. So to help people like yourself, your parents, your teachers and your career influencers to understand what the food and drink industry can actually offer you in terms of careers. We want to make you aware that it's not just about hospitality, as I've already said. We want to let you know about the kind of skills that employers are looking for. In fact, in food and drink, we really need a lot of STEM skills. I mean, any skills will get you into food and drink, but STEM skills are in particular demand, and not many people think about that. But if you are thinking about taking a raw product and making it into a ready meal, for example, you have to understand how to process that product, that you're not going to damage it. It's still going to taste nice. It's going to be nutritious for you. It's not going to look bad, and it's going to arrive at your table in perfect condition that you'll want to eat as well. So there's lots of skills in there. You have to understand the chemistry of what happens to food as it's being cooked, as it's being cooled down, as it's being chilled, as it's being processed, as it's being packaged. Your packaging has to be safe as well. You have to understand about microbes and microbiology, because you have to make sure that your food is safe. So lots and lots of different STEM skills available in there as well, and lots of different career opportunities as well. A lot of people think if you go and work in a factory, oh, it's just a job to tide you over. Food and drink can offer you really, really good careers that can take you all over the world, or can lead to a really, really top management position as well. So I also want to help you to understand that the food and drink you eat every day is produced by people who have jobs, and they have to think about how they're going to get that to you in the best possible condition, that it's not going to do you harm as well. Because we never go into a shop in this country and think, well, I'll maybe not buy that biscuit, or I'll maybe not buy that drink of juice because it might do me harm. You never think about that. And there's a whole army of people working in food and drink, making sure that your food is safe to eat and it's not going to do you harm. I think it's probably also worth reflecting on the last 16 months, because none of us can ignore what we've been through as a result of the pandemic. But food and drinks also had to deal with the EU exit, and I'm sure you've maybe seen some of the impact of that on the news as well. And there's also the climate emergency as well, and food and drink is also affected by climate emergency in terms of reducing emissions, reducing packaging, and trying to become a net zero industry as well. So we've had a really, really difficult year and a half, and it's still going to continue a little bit as well, let's face it. But there's some positives to be taken out of this as well. Please don't feel it's all doom and gloom. There's a lot of positives to be taken out of it as well. Food and drink didn't shut down. We kept going. When supermarkets shelves were being cleared, food and drink industry was keeping going behind the scenes and making sure that they were being refilled, and they did that. We also really valued the workforce. Our manufacturers that we keep in touch with were full of praise for their staff, how they kept going, how they came up with new ideas, how they dealt with all the physical distancing, the changing and shift patterns, everything that was thrown at them. So new ways of working were introduced. And I think also as consumers, we probably learned to value our food more. I think we all started to think about, maybe I should be buying more local, reduce the supply chain, cut down really, really long supply chains. If there's a local manufacturer or there's a local producer, maybe I should be buying from them, and then I know where it's come from as well. And as a result of all of this, what the industry is doing is really looking at training and developing its staff, because processes and procedures in industry have changed. So we need to train our workforce to do that. We really value our workforce. And also, as I mentioned in the previous slides as well, the climate emergency, the drive to net zero, are also demanding new skills and new talents from the workforce of the future. And we're hoping that that's going to be, some of you might consider that as well. So you'll come in with these new skill sets, and we can help you to develop them as well, to become a more sustainable industry and to help us to get to net zero as well. So as I've said already, food and drink needs talented people, and we really need them, in addition to every industry as well, but we probably need them now more than ever. So there's a huge demand for STEM skills. So if you're interested in science, technology, engineering and maths, then there's opportunities for you. And as I say, not everybody thinks about that in relation to food and drink, but they're really, really required, as I've talked to you about some of the jobs that are available. The other thing that's happening in food and drink, and I did mention it before, that a lot of people think it's low skilled, low value jobs. Well, it's not anymore. There's a real drive towards automation, robotics, adopting new technologies, becoming more efficient, process efficiencies. And that is driving a demand for higher level technical skills. So we're looking at SCQF level 7 and above. So that's a level above a higher. So there's opportunities to really develop very, very good skills and move further up within the businesses as well. In particular, food scientists and food technologists are in particular demand. So these are the sort of people that would come up with new product ideas, or they would reformulate existing products to make them healthier. So they're in huge demand. So they have to understand what happens to food as it's being processed, what changes happen to it, how to keep the shelf life, how to make sure your food is safe, that it is, that it arrives at the consumer in optimum condition, that it looks nice to eat, it's not gone off or anything like that as well. There's also a huge demand for engineers. Because to make the products, to make them efficiently, we need engineers to build the machinery, and we need engineers who understand the food and drink industry, and to make the machinery food safe, because you can't put like engine oil in if you're making food, because a consumer can't eat that. There's also jobs like quality control and logistics and many, many more as well. And a lot of the skills for the future, which I'm going to touch on later on, are things like digital skills, looking at environmental sustainability and robotics. So these are all new skills within the industry, and we're developing these as we're moving forward as well. So we really want to attract a lot of good talent into the industry. And I just want to highlight the picture on the right hand side of the screen. So that's a slide that we developed in association with Baxter's, who are famous for making their canned soup. And you kind of take a can of soup for granted, but look at all the jobs that are involved in making that. So you've got the corporate people right at the top who are responsible for running the business. You've got finance. If your product's not going to make a profit, it won't get made. You've got people that got to market the product, new product development people making it better or coming up with new product ideas, salespeople going out and selling the product, making sure that consumers want it, security. There are stories of people trying to contaminate food products for gain. They'll try and blackmail companies. So you have to have site security to make sure nothing bad happens to the food it's not tampered with. Health and safety, customer service, compliance. That's making sure that you follow all the legislation and that the food that we eat is safe to eat. Purchasing, going out and finding where the raw ingredients are. You might travel the world to find ingredients. As I've said in the previous one, I've got a friend who works for a coffee company who travels the world sourcing coffee beans, so goes to South America, Africa, all over the world. So opportunities there as well. People working in production, legal, you have to make sure that what you say in the tin is actually true. There's a lot of lawyers working in the food and drink industry, people dealing with supply chain and IT, and that probably doesn't cover absolutely everything. So lots and lots and lots of job opportunities needing different skills in food and drink, which you might not have thought about before. So I'm going to stop talking at the moment, and I'm going to try and pull up Mark's presentation here. So he actually does work for Baxter's, but he's got a slightly different job. So I'm going to let you listen to Mark. Oh, no, it's done it again. It's such a sensitive one. There we go. I'll play this video.
My name is Mark Stockwell. I'm the European Environmental Manager for Baxter. My company is Baxter Food Group. Across our
whoops. Oh. There we go. So you've heard from Mark. So it's not just me that's saying that as well. So as I said at the beginning, I will go through some of the rules that exist. I'm not going to run through this because that would be far too boring. And we've already talked about some of them as well. But there's a couple just to pull out there that I think might be of interest to you. So animal scientist, you might not think is an obvious one in food and drink, but it's actually really crucial to the industry, because when you think about it, everything that an animal eats can potentially go into the food chain. So you have to be really careful about animal nutrition as well, and how we treat our animals. So that's one that you may not have thought about as being a direct link. And the one below that is a soil scientist. So the course title for that tends to be agronomy. And that's understanding how you can maximise what you can produce from soil. In the world, we have a finite resource of soil. There's only so much soil, and the amount of people in the world is increasing every single day, and we have to feed them all. We have a responsibility as a global unit to feed everyone in this world. So soil scientists try and make the most from soil and make it more productive. So they're in huge demand all over the world. So if any of you were interested in a job that involves a lot of travel but possibly earning quite a lot of money as well, I would say agronomy is probably quite a good one to go into as well. And I think some of the other ones we probably touched on as well, but you might not realise that chemical and mechanical engineers are really in high demand as well. And there's quite a few, there's definitely a modern apprenticeship. There's an engineering modern apprenticeship that you can do in food and drink that trains you to be a chemical and a mechanical engineer as well, but also things like process engineer and product design as well, to make processes and products a lot more efficient as well. So lots and lots of roles that currently exist as well, but also a lot of emerging roles that are coming through in the industry as well. So digital skills is really becoming very, very important. Understanding data, how we manage data and how we use it to make processes more efficient. If you can analyze data and really extract good information from it, there's a lot of opportunity for you, probably in any industry, but obviously in food and drink as well. And understanding big data is really, really crucial, because it means that we can simplify processes, we can extract data, we can take real meaning from it as well. I've already touched on artificial intelligence and machine learning as well, making processes and procedures more efficient. And if machines can learn, then that is really, really important, because then they become more efficient as well. Business development, business is always good to understand, but also because there's such a reliance now on the internet, on sharing information across the internet. There's also huge security risks as well, and information security and analysis of this and understanding that is also a huge growth area as well, and very, very important as well. And understanding the Internet of Things is huge, because what is happening particularly in food and drink is, say for example, a machine breaks down, then you use a QR code, you find out what the fault is, and you can send the information to the engineer, who may be in a different country to you, who can then analyze what's wrong with the machine based on the information you're sending through the internet, and either repair it virtually or send you the information. So there's a lot of information, there's a lot of new roles like this, and understanding of technology that's emerging as well. To be honest, I don't fully understand it as well, but there's opportunities for people like yourselves who can understand it and really take this information, work with it, and support businesses to become more efficient. But in addition to the roles that obviously exist and may potentially exist in the future as well, I think it's also worth looking at skills. In the video that you saw with Mark, we did talk about some of the skills that employers are looking for, and you've probably been told them by the people you're working with and by your mentors at Career Ready as well, and also by your teachers as well, I'm sure. And because there's such a rise in technology, and I think there's a worry sometimes that the machines are going to take over and we'll be getting rid of lots of jobs. Sorry. What are the kind of skills that we have as human beings that machines can't replicate? So there was a lot of research done about this, and I've taken these from a report called The Future of Jobs, which was conducted by the World Economic Forum. So this is a worldwide research looking at the kind of skills that are really important to employers that we can all develop and enhance. So it's about being a good communicator, but applying that communication also in terms of being a good team worker, really listening to what your teammates are saying and going, all right, so they're saying that, so maybe I can apply it this way. It's having emotional intelligence, so understanding what people are saying, interpreting it as well, being empathetic. Also, because the workplace is changing, we've had to deal with an awful lot of very rapid change very quickly as a result of the pandemic. Being quite resilient to change and adapting to change are also crucial skills to an employer as well. And I'm sure you can probably all actually identify that in yourselves, because you've probably expected to go on an internship that was going to be face to face and based physically, and you've done something virtually. So that's showing resilience and flexibility as well. So you've all done this. So think about some of these skills and how you actually display them as well. Reasoning and problem solving, again, that comes down to working in teams, listening to the folk round about you. Using technology, understanding it and making the most of it. Most of us have got a basic understanding of technology, and I've probably demonstrated this in this presentation. There's probably about a million other things I could have done that made it maybe more engaging or more interactive as well. I don't necessarily understand that, but you can learn those skills, and that's the sort of thing I'm talking about as well. But also persuasion and negotiation as well. Again, it all comes down to good people skills, good communication skills, and just working with other people as well. These are the kind of skills that are really, really in demand and will become more and more in demand. The machines are there, yeah, but we are there to work with the machines, and they don't do anything unless we tell them to. But we also have to work with human beings as well. So think about some of these skills and how you use them as well. So just looking at some of the qualifications that you need to get into food and drink. Well, as Mark said, he didn't have any, and that is not unusual in food and drink, and a lot of people do fall into it because they don't necessarily think about it as their career destination of choice. But there are courses and training options at every single level. So this is probably quite a busy slide for you to look at, but it's on our website and you can look at it in more detail. But it's really just to illustrate there's qualifications at every single level that can help support your career in food and drink. From foundation apprenticeships that you might want to do at school, there is one in food science and technology, if you're interested in doing that. There are modern apprenticeships in food and drink, but also the mechanical and electrical engineering ones, plus business ones as well. There's a whole host of apprenticeships that can help you get into the industry. Virtually every business, if you went in with no qualifications, would support you, would help to train you. There's graduate apprenticeships, so you can study to do a degree while you're working as well. And then there's also college and university courses as well. So really something for everyone, and a lot of scope. You don't have to do everything straight from school. You can maybe leave school, go and get a job, do some working. You know, a lot of people have very, very diverse career routes as well. So lots and lots of opportunity, and something for everybody at every single level as well. So just to illustrate that. And I think that's me at the end of my presentation. They're my contact details. If there's anything you want to ping me an email or go onto our website and look at some more of the information, please feel free to do that. And if there's any questions, I'm very happy to take them now. Kirsty, I think that's me.
Thank you so much. Anything, guys, that you want to ask? You can feel free to shout it out. You can pop it in the chat if there's anything you want a little bit more info on. I'll go while you're thinking of yours. And I know I've already asked this question, Moira, but I think it was such a good answer that I'm going to ask you it again. How did you get into your job in the food and drink industry?
Well, I didn't go direct into the food and drink industry. I left school and I went to college because that was kind of what was expected at the school I went to. But I actually studied textiles. I studied textile technology way back. And then when I left, I had to do a year in industry when I was at college. So I worked in a factory in Kilmarnock for a year, which was absolutely the best thing that ever happened to me in my whole life, because I spent a few weeks in from working on the lines to quality control to working in the offices as well. So I did a little bit of everything, and it was a great experience. I learned so much. And I think by the time I'd finished my year in industry, I knew every single person in the factory, because I'd worked in every department, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it actually changed me as a person. It kind of really grounded me and made me more appreciative of the jobs that some people do, because this was way back. So I was literally, my first day was unpicking skirts on a line, which I maybe didn't expect to be doing, but it was a very, very good experience for me. when I left college, I was lucky enough to go on to a graduate training program, which I did for Courtaulds. So I worked down south, and I worked as an industrial engineer for several years in textiles. But I decided, and then I changed jobs, and I went to work for another company. I ended up working in central London, and I really, really didn't like it. So I wanted to come back up to Scotland at that point, and so I did, and I changed jobs. And I ended up working for a company called ScotVec, which is now SQA. So I got involved in kind of training and development through that route. And then when I left there, I went to work for myself, and I went to work as a consultant, and I started working with I got some contracts with Scottish Enterprise working in food and drink, and that was about 20 years ago. So I've been working in food and drink ever since in a variety of different roles. So I've worked in food and drink for longer than I ever worked in textiles. But I love it. And I think what I really enjoy about working in food and drink in Scotland is we all kind of know one another. We get to know the businesses, we get to know the folk that we work with, and everyone is so passionate about food and drink. As I said at the beginning, everyone's got an opinion about food and drink, because we all eat and drink, so everyone's got an opinion about it, and people are very passionate about what they do. So so I thoroughly enjoy it, and I'd recommend it to anyone. It's a great industry to work in. It's really, really, it's never the same 2 days in a row.
Amazing, thank you. And I think that my big takeaway from this is that Ben and Jerry's cookie dough is made in Scotland.
Absolutely.
That's made
along with many other things as well that you might not expect.
Guys, anything that you want to ask or you want to check out before you go? Moira's obviously very kindly put her contact details there if you think of something later. But if there is anything, we last chance, Celine, for any questions?
Can you go in a bit more detail on the business role of food and drink?
When you say the business role, so the kind of roles and businesses that you would go into, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's loads there. I mean, there's general management. I mean, obviously, so from an operational side, you would need to understand how the organisation operates, manage, incoming goods, outgoing goods, making sure you're making a profit and loss. So general business skills are obviously in huge demand in food and drink, as well as they would be in any manufacturing industry. So there's general managers, there's factory managers, there's people that deal with, as I say, day-to-day operations, also logistics and distribution, all sorts of things. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great question, thank you.
Very good, yes.
Any others, folks? No? Okay, well, if you do think of something, you've got Moira's details there, and you've all got my email address. I can certainly pass on any questions that you might have. But that is us for this morning. Thank you so much for attending. I hope you found that really interesting. This is the last day of your Insight Days, so you've only got a couple of days left with us, but thank you for your participation over the course of the last 4 weeks. It's been brilliant, and it's been great to have you all. So huge thanks to Moira for this morning, and that is you. You can skip off a wee 7 minutes early.
And good luck to you all as well.
Thanks, everyone.